I know. I always do this every time. I speak right before the thing drops. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Rundown with Lou. We have five big entertainment topics of the day, of the week, of the month so far in this early December. So let me introduce you quickly to my panelists today. First, I have one third. It is one third. One third of the three black geeks here, Mr. Chris Powell. What's going on, sir?
What's up? What's up?
Next, I have Supercell. 0320.
You use government name, just Supercell, just
Mr. Leckett himself, Sam, Mr. JVS. What's going on, sir?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
And last but definitely not least, I have Mr. Gold Belt. I feel like I should introduce you like Jim Ross. When I say that, like I should just be like Stone Cold, Stone Cold. Mr. Big Gold Belt himself, Najir.
Salutations, sir. What's up, buddy?
Hey, so let's quickly jump into our topics. And first on our list, it's kind of a touchy topic, but something that we really need to discuss. This past week, actress Ellen Page announced to the world that she is now trans and will prefer to go by Elliot Page moving forward. Now, it's been some controversy on the way her announcement was made, and it kind of came across as a big Hollywood announcement. So, gentlemen, I know how sensitive the issue of trans is in this country and in this industry. Do you think we, as the public, can actually question if this one was a legit coming out or a publicity stunt? And I'm gonna start first with you, Chris.
So with me, like I always sit there and feel like these things. I'm in a school of thought where I kind of hate when folks make big announcements of things and stuff, because it's just like we just pop up at a party doing whatever and then we'll figure it out from there, kind of stuff. And it's not like I want to question it, but it's just like what's the deal? Like, I mean, hey, look, live your life, stand in your truth, but at the same time it's like what's happening here? Because like I said, when she went lesbian, I was like, all right, that's fine, I get it, fine, cool. I didn't even think that was I never thought that was a publicity. It's like, hey, live whatever. This, I'm just kind of like, okay. And maybe just because to this day I'm still trying to parse through the whole labels and he, who, him, and all that other stuff. And I don't know, it's just weird to me how this is happening. And I'm also kind of curious, where does that put Elliot in the spectrum of movie roles, and how is studios going to maneuver through casting him in about to say her for a second, casting him in different movies and TV shows, because he's coming back for Umbrella Academy, so same role. So I'm like, all right.
Now that is something to bring up, because you touched on it. I'm gonna quickly bring it up to get your reaction on it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I mean, is it going to be a drastic change? I don't know.
He's come out as trans, and so far Netflix only official statement on this is that they have no intention on changing the gender or identity of the character.
So it's on the writers to kind of like figure out how they're going to go about it. Does it change it up? Hopefully it doesn't. We'll see. But I don't feel one way or the other about it. I don't know whether it's hard for me to really make the judgment call on whether it's a publicity stunt or not. So it's whatever to me, honestly.
Okay. So I've been told that I have someone who decided to match every stereotype humanly possible of black people and come late. And it happens a lot, I'm assuming, with this gentleman. But I'm gonna ask my producer here to cut this very late gentleman in here.
I am so sorry, guys. I was just spaced out for a second, and all of a sudden,
don't worry about it. Yeah. You have reached every stereotype of your people.
Announce his whole name.
So
don't do that.
Welcome to the rundown, Mr. Motar Hamed Crosby.
I see how it is.
So So, Mozart, since you're late, we're going to have you jump in right after Chris on the topic of Mr. Elliot Page. And do you believe him announcing this transition is a Hollywood stunt, or do we believe he's legitimately decided that this should be how he lives his life from this moment forward?
See, Elliot kind of is a see, I don't know. Honestly, I think Elliot is just a confusing person to me personally, because Elliot used to like men, and then Elliot decided Elliot wanted to be lesbian, and then Elliot has now gone into a show where Elliot was a straight character at first, and then became played with being a lesbian at one moment. Now, Chris said something, that I think is very important. I've always thought about it, right? If Elliot is a guy, right? Elliot is a guy right now and has decided this is how I want to live my life.
Mm-hmm.
But last season of Umbrella Academy, you played with, Elliot being maybe lesbian. Now, how if they go full tilt, or do they just say, you know what, we don't need any romantic relationships for Elliot moving forward? That might be a fix where they don't have to address whether Elliot is gay, straight, male, or female. So that's a fix. Just don't assign Elliot a lover or anything,
Too late.
Yeah, he has a lover.
Yeah, Vanya has a lover, the babysitter that is sort of what going through time now because not gonna leave her behind. So yeah, you have things you have got to address now for sure.
I mean, that was what, last season? I mean, at the end of last season, they kind of left that there in a vacuum. I just see them like when they come back, just say, you know what? Let's not even touch it. Or how do we touch it and then or maybe break them up? Because you break them up and that frees you from that bondage of we have to have this person in a relationship. Does that make sense? That's one fix.
I think it's an ignorant fix because I thought Vanya was the most interesting character of season 2. And I think that when they were defying time, Vanya was the main one adamant about I'm bringing my lover with me. Oh, guess what? This is the other person in the room that also has powers just like me. So now I got to bring a whole family with me. And I think that's going to be the most pivotal thing going into season 3.
But Vanya never brought that person back. They were left back in their time. So that's the thing. I think it fixes itself in a way with timey-wimey shit. I mean, they're going to use time to fix it, which is what will happen with this show is, oh, well, this happened in 1960, whatever, and now we're here, so let's not talk about it. And that's a fix. Again, it's not a good fix. It's just a fix. It's a way that we don't have to deal with sexuality for Vanya on the show. Because if you do deal with it, then you have to figure out what to assign Vanya. It's not, you don't have to figure out what to assign Vanya because you've already assigned Vanya something, one or the other. But you have to figure out how to deal with it moving with Elliot, and that's where the trick, that's where it kind of gets murky. Is how do you deal with it with Elliot? Is Elliot going to accept, or are the viewers who are trans going to accept Elliot playing a character, or are the lesbian viewers going to accept Elliot playing a character that's lesbian? So it's a very murky situation. So I think they just cut off relationships moving forward. But Elliot being Elliot now, that's their business. Honestly, they have always confused me. Their whole moving through, but again, maybe they were confused and they finally figured this is where they need to be. So who knows?
Hey, Sam, I'm gonna have you jump in here, sir, on your thoughts of this situation.
Yeah, so for me, I actually appreciated Ellen Page before with like Hard Candy and a lot of her other older stuff. Now that she is being referred to as Elliot and making that transition, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, she has full right to do that. There's been plenty of people, plenty of stars that have gone through this progression. But the problem with the way that she did it is that there's no look that we can physically see or understanding of an actual physical transition. We don't even have any breakdown of her actually going and stating that she's going through the transitional process, because most of the time when that's a fact, they don't even bring that up until certain stages. And for her to kind of just for him to stable that this is what I am, I can only resonate it with verbiage and wording alone. In my head, until she or he has gone through this process of transition, I can only label and say that this is what he's saying that he is. And that's the hard part about me looking at this in the way that it was publicly done, because it's kind of like, I can talk about, Umbrella Academy, and say the first season, the character legit had a whole boyfriend, like that was the whole centerpiece of the whole first season. And it was an abusive one. It was a messed up one that transformed her into something worse. And it was even teased with some other sprinkle stuff in the second season when she was going behind her back and, messing with this other person. So it's like left in the open, okay, this is a bisexual woman. With this next season, I don't care what way you spin it, the easiest thing to do would be to recast the person if, Elliot is going through this actual transition. To me, if this is really a serious thing, that this was where she's going, you're saying that you're willing to forfeit whatever roles you were in or whatever roles you were going to be promised in, because this is what you in your heart feel as though you believe that you should be go. And that's to me personally, it's like Umbrella Academy season 3 foregoes her decision with this. If they're talking about they're going to just keep things the same, then they've had talks with her and she's okay with that. I really question the way that this was publicly done. Now, as far as any movie roles that Elliot is in or going to have moving forward, they can easily transition that, because the kid that was in the OA season 1, he or she was going through a transition, and now they've gone through that transitional process and it just worked, because in the OA season 1, it looked like, I was like, this is a boy, and if you looked at the Last of Us season, Last of Us 2, this same exact person, is now in the transition process, but identifies as a male. But they identified that and brought it up in the story of The Last of Us 2, which made it even better of a story of that character. So I'm saying that it's hard for me to understand the public process of how they did it. I just don't know enough information. I just know that if this is going to be a serious thing, you need to be willing to lose roles like Umbrella Academy or anything else if this is where you really truly in your heart believe this is where you need to go as an artist, as a person, and as an individual. That's just the way that I kind of look at it. If this is going the way that this person is saying that it's going. So it's hard. It's hard for me to kind of perceive and take it seriously, but I do take it seriously, but there's not enough information for me to ascertain where they're going with this and why. And I think that's a big question mark. That's not a good question mark.
I have a question. There's been a conversation in groups that have been brought up that should an actor just act to whatever assigned role they are? As a lesbian actor, are you only supposed to act in lesbian roles, or as a straight actor, you're supposed to only do straight roles? Elliot, for all intents and purposes, right now physically looks like a woman. This is the bigger question to all of this, not just Elliot. If the precedent is set right now that you recast Elliot, and Elliot only gets to play male characters moving forward, do you now say trans characters or trans actors can only act in their assigned roles regardless of what they look like? And I think that's
all sloped over.
I'll answer the question and then I'll go to Najir. It is simple, and this is the way some or most trans people see it. Once you switch your gender and you tell the world that I am now a man and I prefer to be a male and my name is Elliot, not Ellen, at that point you can't then stand on the sidelines also and say, by the way, I'm going to keep on playing a female character on the show because I kind of still look female. Okay. It's sending the wrong message, and that's the issue. And throughout this whole announcement, that's been my only issue, is that right now it is sending a conflicting message. You're proud to be trans, but yet I'm still going to play a woman because that's where my check is. That's what it comes across. Instead of saying, hey, I'm a man now, I can't play this woman anymore, because at that point it will confuse people, and it will lead people to still consider you as Ellen Page. It's harder for your transition. Exactly. So, Najir, to finish out this topic, sir, what are your thoughts on this?
Nothing. Y'all said all the good stuff already.
I mean, I'll say this though, just to end it off. I do feel like I'm all for everybody having opportunities, right? So I understand the trans and gay community wanting those to get the opportunities to play those roles that are gay roles and stuff. 'Cause I think that's fair to a degree. It's fair. That's a fair thing to have and stuff. And they should be able to play straight roles too. I think it's possible to do both of those roles and stuff. I think
Harris has done it famously for years.
Yeah. So I think in Elliot's case, like, I think to Najir's point, there is going to be a bit of like a pinch on her roles in terms of how she's going to get, because it's like, do we cast her as a guy in these roles now? All right, can he do it? We don't know.
The negotiation between her and Hollywood isn't the issue. It's the signal that that he's given back to the community. Now that you came out, you are now a new beacon of hope for others to be able to do the same thing. And for them to follow that measure of success, that pathway of safety. And when you do that, there's a certain expectation to how you conduct yourself. Playing both sides of the fence is not going to work.
Oh, hell no.
It'd be kind of like the actress. I haven't looked at Supergirl, but I do remember the big thing about
when the actress is a trans actress in there.
Yeah, and you know, this person ended up becoming like a beacon, and it's kind of like, imagine this same exact female now going back and like, I'm gonna play in this movie a guy. It would be a lot of different conflicting things for all those people that looked at this person as a beacon. It'd be a really big confliction there, and it'd be hard to kind of gauge, you know. But I don't know. I don't really have much to speak on it.
Or the most famous trans actress, Laverne Cox.
Orange is the New Black. That's what I was going for.
And then Laverne cast her as a male, and she's going to quickly say no. But I think that's the confusion here in Elliot Page's situation, is that we haven't, as Sam said, we haven't seen you go through the physical transformation we are accustomed to seeing, whether it be Caitlyn Jenner's transformation or Chaz Bono's transformation. Like, we've seen that transformation and it's not evident here. So now we're questioning it.
I'll say it. It's the idea, again, it's the stance from the community. If you're going to do this, people want to say, well, I want to do this too, but I'm scared because it's not safe. So if you're going to do it, then it's not us. I'm speaking about us here. It's them saying, hey, we want to see you go the whole way because we want to do this too. And if you can do it, then we certainly have hope that we can do it. But if you're just going to put a title on you, but nothing changed, everyone's going to be like, well, that's not quite what we were in here. We don't feel like that's going to pave the way for us. You know what I mean?
And that's why the Laverne Cox thing in Orange is the New Black worked for me, because we saw her as the guy in her backstory for the character. And then boom, we saw her, you know, in the transformation and stuff. And it worked for me because it was like, I didn't know she was trans. I had no idea until I saw that transformation. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Or even to a bigger extent, one of the best shows on television, Pose, is almost 70% trans cast.
Yep.
And I wouldn't want any of them to feel the need to have to go back and play the sex that they transitioned from.
Yep.
Oh, I wouldn't even want to offer it to them because I think that's offensive.
Well,
so that's
wondering if anybody gonna bring that up. Yeah.
I mean, old girl was in Queen and Slim.
That's why I said the conversation is not really between Elliot and the studio, because they will address that. Like, I'm not going to play that role. I don't want that role. That's not the issue. The issue of the announcement is that, cool, Hollywood will take what they can get. They don't care. It's fair game for them. You and your agents, that's your ethics you have to face reality with. But the community is looking you dead in the eyes and saying, so what are you going to do? Because we need to know. Because we fought hard for equality. We fought hard. A lot of us have died from this. What are you going to do now that you've came out and you set as a new beacon of hope and safety of what we can channel and hopefully, follow that same path in doing so. But there's no playing both sides of the fence, and everybody, and everybody knows they don't like low down people. That's not how it is. It's either you're gay or whatever, and that's what it is. There's no playing both sides of the fence. Don't be one way with me this way and the other way with me when you're around other people. That's Everett and what's the face on Power.
There you go. And I'll end it here. Just to say, shout out to the other trans actor that I know that also broke barriers over this past year. I think it was Brian Michael Smith, when he got one of the lead roles on 911 Lone Star.
Yep.
And that was more accustomed to us seeing not only the transition that he went through, but also like living in his truth and like saying, hey, I'm a male. I want to play male roles, and him getting cast as a male role that still supports the point that he is trans because it's brought up on the show.
Yeah,
just something to think about.
Coming back January, I love 911.
Yeah, exactly, just something to think about. Thinking about Elliot Page's situation. But next up, gentlemen, on a much more lighthearted topic here, Cyberpunk 2077. I hope I'm saying that right. Reviews for this
numbers there.
highly anticipated game that's been anticipated for 10 years now.
Maybe longer than that, bro.
It might be longer.
Since last generation, pretty much.
It dropped, and then some of the reviews for it weren't necessarily positive. So, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you this for the ones who've played the game so far, who the ones who haven't played the game, who the ones who are thinking about picking up this game. Do you think that the reviews are justified, or you think everything is just overblown because the game just dropped? I'm going to start with the person I ended with last time, Najir.
I'm actually going to give this off to Sam because I really like his stance on this, and I think he has the most sophisticated thoughts of this that I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about. So I would not steal his credit here on this.
Oh, well, Sam, there you go.
So, small background, Cyberpunk 2077 got announced back in 2012, like this small teaser trailer that everybody was like, yo, this is going to be crazy. And it got delayed on top of delayed on top of delayed. And CD Projekt Red started getting like a lot of like push around like 2016, 2017, when it's like, okay, they're actually really doing something. And the innovation is going to be expansive. It's going to be open world, MMORPG. But a lot of people were thinking, honestly, if you look at the trailers, like, yo, this is going to be a first-person GTA experience because it's open world. And I think when I understood what the game really was going to be about, I tempered my expectations because I really was like wanting to play it for the immersive experience and the choices that you're going to make. And I think a lot of people that are doing these reviews, half of them ain't even finished the game. About 50% of them that I've talked to, I talked to one dude that was a critic over in the UK. He was like, literally the guy that he has supposed to be reviewing it, he just got the code to review it like 2 days ago. And the main storyline it's about 25 hours long. But if you want to really play the immersion of the game, it's the side missions. The side missions, it can expand this out to being 100 or 120 hours plus. And so I think that every single person that's going to play this is going to have a different feeling to it, but it depends on what their expectations going into it were. If they thought this is going to be a first-person shooter just like GTA, they're going to be like, oh, forget this game. And there's some people that knew that this was going to be MMORPG, kind of like the reminiscent of a combination of GTA, but like The Witcher and a little bit of like Mass Effect, then they might really love this. And I think that the review numbers make sense to me. It's not as though the review numbers are ludicrous, but it's like anything that's like a 7 and above doesn't, to me, seem like an issue when a game is this expansive. The biggest things that I'll say that I can't attest to is that they were saying there's a lot of bugs. Most games this big, the game that I even downloaded it early, it's about 101.5 gigs. And that's not with the DLC. That's just the solid game by itself for me digitally just downloading it. So anybody that got the disc, they still gonna have to download a big bulk of that game. And so most of the time when a game's this big and expensive, it's gonna have bugs. So I think they're definitely gonna have a first-rate patch for the game, which is gonna be fine. But it's gonna take some growing pains. And I think a lot of people they need to temper their expectations, because a lot of these reviews are probably true. For the person that was probably looking at it like, yo, I only had 2 days to get through this game, and I went through the main storyline. I didn't try to do the full customization, making my person a man or a woman or a cyborg or a pure human or a nomad or a street kid. Like,
that sounds like a lot.
A little bit of time. So I'm saying that for me, if I was reviewing it, I would really need a good 3 weeks to officially give a review. Anybody that, I think if you look at the IGN review, I think that they did the best thing of kind of like temper your perspective of what they actually got to do versus they're giving a full review later on. They really didn't have enough time. A lot of these different places didn't have enough time to really review this efficiently. But I think that their idea and their perspective on what the game really is, it's unexpected to me. I don't have an issue with it. I think more than anything, I'm just happy there wasn't like any 3s or 5s or, you know, 1s. Like 7 and above to me is understandable, and I think it's justified. In a game this crazy and this expansive, and I think that it's good that people got their expectations tempered, as opposed to being like, you know, oh man, this sucks. You know, I didn't have any kind of cushion for anything. So that's just my personal perspective on it. As a consumer, I'm excited to play the game. I'll definitely be reviewing it, but yeah, that's my thought.
So Chris, start with you, sir. What are your thoughts on Cyberpunk?
I'm not buying into the hype, and it's not hating on it or anything. I played through Watch Dogs Legion, and that was another one of those games that got like a lot of hype, like Cyberpunk 2077. And I remember playing through Watch Dogs, and after playing through it, I realized like it's such a downgrade from Watch Dogs 2.
Facts.
And it really kind of came to me like at first I was like, all right, Cyberpunk 27 is coming out, and then I started realizing like after looking at the reviews, some of the reviews never felt like they were objective, because like I said, IGN is probably the only one that I'm kind of like, all right, I'm willing to see what their review after the thing is patched and everything is said and done is, you know, what their score is and stuff. I don't think there's never a game that's perfect 10 out of 10. Even some of my faves get 10 out of 10s. I am of the school of thought that I think the game is a firm 7, because I've seen some 7 out of 10s, and those were still kind of positive. They just had their issues with the game in certain respects. So I agree with the reviews to a degree, but I think a lot of them are kind of like overhyped to kind of account for whatever expectations people have. Because I mean, because the last thing you want is another Last of Us 2 situation, and you know everybody knows how that game went, you know, and stuff. So yeah, like I said, I'm not hating on the game. It's just like I mean, I don't know, but I'm gonna wait till after they patch it up, because like I saw that 100 gigabyte thing. I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, no, not doing it. I'll have fun with that.
So Mo,
so I'll probably buy it later, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like it's pretty good. It's just like, I'll wait.
So Mo, as our resident African video game correspondent, what are your thoughts on Cyberpunk 2077?
Am I excited for the game? Hell yes, as a consumer. Of course I'm excited for the game. I've been excited for the game since it was announced, since it was teased. And I think the game itself has to live up to the hype from 2012. So there's a lot of hype, and then, you know, next gen is coming out. So everybody's like, yo, this is probably going to be the game for next gen. It's going to be the thing to really put. I mean, Spider-Man Miles Morales is going to be out there. But
hold on 1 second, Mo. I just want to stop real quick, because the next gen converted version doesn't come out to 2021. So what you're playing, no matter what, everybody, this is for everybody, just make sure you know, what we're playing, if you're going to play it on your Xbox Series X or your PlayStation 5, you're playing the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox
One. Yeah. So
we're not getting that until next year. And I think what they're going to do, low key, is they're going to drop that next year with the multiplayer. So I just want to make sure you knew that before you continue.
I'm not going to last no more. That's it.
What?
Hold up, you said last. I had you go first,
and you deferred.
I didn't have to. I didn't have to go last. I just passed the ball.
No, but to Sam's point again, I'm saying this was the game everyone, when next gen was coming out, we're gonna get the next gen versions of this game. So this is the game because of the way they're gonna build it out and the world immersion. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna run, finally when the Xbox and everything comes out, when the next gen versions come out, this is gonna be the game to push the power of your next gen console. So this game has a lot of hype on it. It has a lot on its shoulders, honestly. And I see the reviews as people seeing, and people are excited, and people are so pressed for the game that when it came out and they finally got a handle of it, and certain things, it's like, it's like this isn't. As Sam said, their excitement level was at maybe like a 10, and they play the game, and you have to review it inside of a couple of days, and it's. If you're just going to run through the story or you're going to run through a couple hours of the game, it takes away from all of that build up. So I'm going to look at these reviews, with a grain of salt for like when the full game comes out and when people are really allowed to actually dive deep into it and give you a full review. Because I don't know if it was IGN or someone said it. Our what you're going to be looking at is not going to be our gameplay.
Yeah,
you're going to be looking at footage, because the game, Project doesn't want us to, they didn't want to show for some reason, and that bugged me, to be honest. The fact that they didn't want to show gameplay for reviewers, that kind of bugged me a little bit. But again, it's a big game. It's the game, and it makes sense that the reviews are where they are. I'm not mad at it. Am I going to get it? Of course, I already got it. So. I can't wait to run it.
In other words, you're stuck with it no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what at this point.
So, hey, dear, since you deferred, Mr. Rondo, and now we're back to you finally. What is your thoughts on Cyberpunk?
Passing the ball ain't too bad. It gets you a championship if I ain't mistaken, right?
Yeah, one out of 20 though. 1 out of 20.
That's not true. We got two.
Two out of 20. I'm sorry.
That's more than a lot of people. AI, but in a sense, when you think about when this was first a rumor, when it first was teased, 2012, a really popular game came out right after that did get 10 out of 10. That was GTA 5, and that game still is being played to this day. So
Rockstar still giving you versions of GTA.
Hey, and I don't
BS, man. We're already on PS5, and it's like, dog, give it up, man.
You're still getting over.
Hey, it is still an absolutely fantastic
it's
game.
A stunner, but God, can we get a new one?
GTA 6, San Andreas. Like,
what's the difference? What? In better graphics to beat up hookers? Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair with GTA, to give GTA 5 its credit, like it took everything. It took everything from San Andreas and just made it look very nicer. You get heists, and it just everything. The world actually loads a lot better than what it was on the San Andreas side of things and stuff. So it looks good. Everything is just updated, and the controls are updated and stuff. That's kind of how GTA.
So how much of a mark should I put against Cyberpunk that we started with a Cyberpunk conversation and ended on GT5?
I don't know. I was just going on my point about glitches and stuff, but it doesn't matter. Look, Cyberpunk 2077. I'll have it on Thursday, and people that didn't like it, that's a vendetta. Next topic.
Wait. Hold on. I got one thing I want to theorize about why Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red had a lot of different reviewers not put their stuff up. All the different reviews and the footage you've seen, you haven't seen any of the customization characters at all. And so imagine if you're a black character with a crazy hairstyle with all these augments, then that changes the whole perspective you thinking of the game. And I do think, to Najir's point, there's probably some glitches they didn't want people to see. So I think, between that and like people actually, I don't know, did you know this, Lucas, that people got the game early?
Sam,
actual people actually received the physical copy early and started trying to stream it. And then they got banned from their respective systems.
Let me help you here. Let me help you here real quick. I know absolutely nothing about this. Not a damn thing.
Can we move to the next topic? That would be great. Can we move to the next topic? Because we can go all day on video games, and I got to do a video game podcast Friday. So, yeah, I can go all day on this. We already know this.
I don't want to go all day on stuff.
Yeah. Let's move to
unless y'all telling me a new Madden is coming out, that I need to play. I'm not gonna play another video game.
Well,
Chris
we'll talk about
rebuttal
that later.
and talk about a new topic.
I mean, no, because I just know. Look. That is the nature of podcasting. When you know we can go all day on the subject, I just
we're not going on the
Lou
subject.
ain't gonna let you.
It's other subjects.
Man.
Not a video game. I had to slice that. I only knew what Cyberpunk was 2 months ago. Before 2 months ago, I knew nothing about this video game. But speaking of knowing nothing about anything 2 months ago, it was announced today, and this was a topic change at the last minute because of every bit of these announcements that dropped. It was announced today by Sony, all their plans moving forward for Spider-Man 3 and the things that they have lined up. Basically, a bunch of people from other Spider-Man movies that they're going to drop in Spider-Man 3. So, gentlemen, I'm going to start with you, Najir, because you said you didn't want to go last. With all the plans released today about Spider-Man 3, do you think it gave us a clear picture of not only Sony's plans moving forward, but also Marvel's plans moving forward?
It's a good question. The Marvel part, at least. I mean, we talked about this a lot off the record. So on the record now, I think that, again, how deals work is that it's an agreement between two parties that says that we both want something. We both want to give something. We both want something out of this. The deal with Spider-Man and Marvel was that when Civil War came out, the movie was already prone to be successful, but getting Spider-Man, who is the hottest property in all of comics and superheroes, maybe right outside of Batman, adding that is the icing to the cake. And I think that's a lucrative move because they were already making money, but they said, well, how can we take it to the next level? They got their due. They got Spider-Man for 3 movies, bada bing, bada boom. So the question is, well, what's up with Sony? Well, I'm going to say that a lot of people looked at Sony was the black sheep, the stepchild, the oddball, the ginger of the family. Whenever they did anything, it wasn't respected. People just did. It didn't matter how good the movie was. You can say what's your best top 5 Marvel movies, and one of the posters right by, I think that's Spider-Man 2, is arguably in top 5. People wouldn't do it because they'll say, nah, that's Sony. It's not Marvel, so it doesn't count. So what happens here with Sony is that Sony did this move because not only did it make it lucrative for them, but it legitimized them. That now that you say, when you say Spider-Man, you say, oh, Spider-Man is an Avenger. Spider-Man was part of that. So anything that they do now, you legitimize live action Spider-Man with the Marvel title with Sony Pictures after that. So we saw the success of the animated of Into the Spider-Verse, probably the best animated movie in the last 10 years, we'll say. There could be some arguable conversation there, but it's in that conversation. So Sony, with that success, they started moving forward with other things. Venom came out, mixed reviews, but they played it safe. But now that Spider-Man is back, now that Sony can stand up on their 2 feet, now that they have a blueprint of success, now that all the marbles are all in place now, they are moving forward to saying, thank you for that partnership. Thank you for legitimizing us. Here's what we're doing. We're seeing a live action Spider-Verse. We're bringing back all the old properties. We could probably talk about contracts forever, but they're bringing back all their properties back, and they're doing fan service, but they're also doing themselves a good service in itself by doing so. It's a safe margin of success, and I think it's legitimate, and I think it will grab people's attention. And at the same time, too, everyone loves universes. So the fact that they're saying all the Spider-Mans are connected, that's going to just mind blow. So good for them. Right now, they're killing it right now in the PR department with all the news and stuff and announcements with this. So like, good for Sony for not tanking to Disney, which could happen. You could be Fox easily and just completely tank. No, they stand on their own feet. And when you look at comic book stuff now, you say Disney is obviously the alpha, but this is a 1A to me. I mean, a 1B. They should be able to stand right next to them as far as what they want to do moving forward in superhero stuff. And I think a lot of people are going to open up their eyes starting with Spider-Man 3.
So, Mo, I'm going to go to you next, sir, because we used to have a podcast where I talked about this a lot, about the deal and how this deal
oh my God,
would come into fruition. Now, when I talked about it, Almost everything I said about this deal has come true at this point, which is hilarious to me.
I knew you were going to say that, but go ahead.
Of course, I'm going to take my credit here. I'm clearly going to take my credit here. But what are your thoughts on this deal as it pertains to not just Sony, but also to Marvel? Because I think that's the more interesting story here, is it how it pertains to Marvel.
Sony, I'm just piggyback right off Niger on Sony point. Sony is saying, look at us, pretty much. Just look at us. We are here. Like we got it now. Like it's almost as like I think it was last year or a year, 2 years ago. It was last year where they, the little split when we didn't know what was going to happen with Spider-Man 3. Like right after Spider-Man 2, they had that little split and it rocked everybody's world for a second. Mm-hmm. It's Sony. I think inside of that move, Sony was pointing their fingers or pushing buttons, letting people know, look, we are going to be doing our own thing regardless of what Marvel does. And I think outside of Marvel, or to bring Marvel into this is, or rather to bring the Marvel comics book universe, that is not Sony related. Now you look at Marvel saying, moving forward, okay, what do we have? Black Panther 2, when Spider-Man 3 comes out under the Marvel Cinematic Universe umbrella, and then I think that'll be the last movie for them inside of that umbrella. And what Sony has done is, with all the moves they've made, is a way for us to bring back Spider-Man into their little universe that they're building. The Morbius, the Venom 2s, maybe Sinister 6 that they're building, and all of that stuff. And Sony's putting all the pieces together to let you know that, hey, we, after this, we might not be here anymore. And it puts Marvel in a tight spot. Do you make another deal and say, hey, no, not necessarily a tight spot. It puts Marvel in a position where it's like, you now kind of have to kowtow to Sony, because you might need this character moving forward, because you almost don't really have anything that big. Almost.
Mo, you're basically saying the price went up.
Pretty much. Sony's brand price went up pretty much. Like,
you know what? I'm gonna cut you off right. I'm gonna cut you off. I gotta cut you off right here. Maybe Chris will answer my question finally. So, with this news, what do you think this means for Marvel moving forward and for Spider-Man moving forward? Like, no one's answered that clear question. I know the answer. I can't say it. So,
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Did you know Morbius is coming out? They put out an international trailer. Didn't hear nobody talk about it.
We did.
I just literally
no. I'm just saying. I'm making.
What do you mean outside of?
No. But I'm making. It's more so kind of a rhetorical question, but I'm making a point. This is bigger. This is more of a bigger deal for Sony, because the fact that there's not, and like I said, online and offline are two separate things, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. I haven't seen a lot of talk about Morbius, especially after that trailer, right? And if you're Sony, if you're trying to be like Marvel, other than Spider-Man, you got to make people give a shit about Kraven. You got to make people give a shit about like all these other movies that you're making and stuff. So I would say with Spider-Man, they're fine. I think the ball is in their court. Mo is right. And the fact that the price of the brick did go up, and stuff, because what they're doing. So that's right. I do feel Sony and Marvel are going to continue this relationship till one of them decides they don't want to do that shit. And it's going to probably be Sony that's going to be like, all right, well, we're going to continue doing our own thing. But Sony is, to be fair to Sony, though, they're content with making all this money if Marvel's going to be part of it, too. So I think it is one of those things where it's like any business. Hey, I like making money. Do you like making money? All right, let's just keep working this until we're tired of it. And then it's like, all right, well, we'll go our separate ways. And it's like, all right, cool. So I think they're going to go on this journey, especially with this Doctor Strange connection that the Spider-Man movie is. They're going to keep going until Sony's most likely going to kind of like, all right, well, we're going to do our own thing and stuff. Now, it like I said, it leans more in Sony's way because they do get a big benefit off of it and stuff for putting this together. I don't know how much input like somebody like Feige has into it. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I can't sit there and say that he has like a lot of, say so in it and stuff, but I'm pretty sure he has some input to it to a degree. But I think this benefits Sony a lot more, and they really do need this more than anything else. So I put it more in Sony's court than anything. Marvel, they're going to be fine, but I don't know if I can really sit there and say that they're desperate per se yet. But they're still going to enjoy having Spider-Man in the MCU to a degree. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship, so to speak. No pun intended. Yeah, I know, no pun intended, but it is a kind of like they're basically tethered together for right now, and it's kind of leaning towards Marvel. Kind of, I ain't gonna say they need Spider-Man, but they're benefiting from Spider-Man until they get everything else with the Eternals and all, and the X-Men and all that stuff going. That's really pretty much what the waiting game is, honestly.
Okay, so Sam, I hope Chris will answer my question. Chris did not answer my question, and I want to say it, but I'm gonna give you a chance before I break
answered
down
your question. I did answer your question. Way better than Mo.
Mo didn't answer it at all.
Exactly. I answered your question to a degree, maybe not what you were looking for, but I did answer it to be fair.
I'm gonna have Sam go, and then I'm gonna try to answer this question if Sam does not. So, Sam, what are your thoughts about this move, and how will it affect Marvel and Sony moving forward?
So, I want to make sure I get the facts correct before I answer this. Spider-Man only has one more solo Marvel film and then one other connection Marvel film, right?
Yeah.
So Spider-Man 3 is the last solo Marvel movie, right?
Oh, and add one more thing too. That also means that there's also one more MCU character as a cameo within that Spider-Man film. That's kind of how the deal's been working. A one and a one.
Yeah. So that means that, say, hypothetically speaking, the next Avengers movie is called Secret Wars or Secret Invasion or whatever. That's the last time the MCU, until something is brokeraged or leveraged for them to have Spider-Man, that MCU is going to have. Now, granted, to Chris's point, having the X-Men, having the Fantastic Four is a really great cushion because the X-Men has a lot of great content to it. But it's gonna hurt because the reality is that Sony, there's no reason. Sony has used Marvel. Sony has used the MCU up and kind of put it in the limelight, got their own blueprint, got what they really needed. But the moment that the Spider-Verse hit, being one of the best Spider-Man, not just best animated movies, but the best Spider-Man movie ever.
Yes.
That changed the entire game. When what was it? I think when was it Venom? I think when Venom came out, and at the end of Venom, they showed like Spider-Verse and in another universe. I was like, wait, why did Sony do that? Then when I saw Spider-Verse, and I was like, yo, what if they make this live action? Me and Nadir, I remember we were at the movie theaters, me, Nadir, and Lucas. I was like, we were talking like, yo, what if they really go for this thing? And now Lucas honestly was the prophet. He said, yo, they're going to do this. It's not even a question. And the reality is that is what's happening. At this point, Sony doesn't need Marvel anymore. Marvel really needs Spider-Man. And they're not going to have him after this point. And there's no reason for Sony to give Spider-Man back regardless, because they not only have more villains than even the Batman does, they have a whole universe that they can really just go for. When they introduce the multiverse, that changes everything. And the fact that today they announced characters that, I think, matter of fact, Emma Stone was announced. Was that correct?
It's been rumored that Emma will be the next person announced for this movie.
So that, to me, that means that she's only going to be a cameo. This movie, Spider-Man 3, because it is technically in the Marvel universe, the only reason why it's even here, that it's Marvel universe, is to implement the multiverse scenario. But it's going to go into the
God. Hold up. Let me just say this. Thank God somebody finally got what I said. What benefit would this come from? How will it affect Sony? And how
no. But wait,
but I mentioned the Doctor Strange thing. I literally said,
what I meant by it was this. This movie, not only does it set up the separation that will happen between the two companies, but it also brings into play the multiverse, which is just as big for Marvel as it is for Sony.
That's exactly what I said was going to happen in Doctor Strange, and everyone's got these big elaborate theories about how Spider-Man and Doctor Strange are going to do all these cool things. Not at all. It is going to be nothing but a conversation of theories.
No, but keep in mind, and then I'll let Sam. I'll do this. I'll let Sam finish it. Then I'll finish out. I don't believe the multiverse gets started with Spider-Man 3. It's going to get started with WandaVision, and then it's going to translate to Spider-Man 3, and then run into Doctor Strange 2, which amazingly, Doctor Strange 2 release date is 2 months after Spider-Man 3.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody assumed in Far From Home because of the previews with Mysterio and stuff that was going to be the start because of the whole Mysterio trick. No, I know it wasn't, but I just remember that was the theory, Infinity War, and then we saw Mysterio, and I was like, I mean, it's an idea, but we know what happened with Mysterio, obviously. So I think that's the key thing too, because they think WandaVision on Disney Plus, they're not going to go in the multiverse. I'm like, are you sure about that? Because
the whole thing of WandaVision, though.
Yeah.
Even in that trailer, you saw a lot of moves. Yeah, a lot of things that didn't seem like it was in the dimension. So yeah.
So I just want to say, regardless of where this originates from, all of them have very pivotal pieces as to terminologies and how complex this is. Wanda obviously is still coming into fruition with her own ability. Doctor Strange, who is the master sorceress, who's way advanced in his abilities, as we've seen in Endgame. You now having him and Wanda having conversations about abilities, time travels, and you have Spider-Man, and it was also just going to be a sponge grabbing all this knowledge. And then, Lucas, the one thing I'm surprised you didn't bring up is the metal web aspect of this too.
I wasn't done. I was going to let Sam finish. Didn't bring up why this all came together. But I'll also say this before I let Sam finish. I think everybody is missing one character that I think will be added to this movie. Now, I don't know if they're going to announce it or wanted to surprise people with it, but expect Reed Richards to be announced for this movie, either as a surprise cameo during the movie or in some way it'll be announced ahead of time by Marvel that they cast the role. I'm telling you right now.
Actually, I heard rumblings. It's going to be Doctor Strange with Reed Richards.
That is almost to me guaranteed, because that will help expand what they want to do with the multiverse and also bring in another group of heroes that they're trying to find a way to get in here. But Sam, I'm gonna let you finish your thought there, sir.
I feel like Nate Jr. now. I didn't even give off the ball. Somebody took the ball from me while I was running to the touchdown. So one thing I was going to bring up different than what y'all going to say was they've been teasing this from the moment that I was like, I forget what happened was. We saw the first trailer for Far From Home, and Mysterio was talking to Peter about this theoretical of the universe that he kind of came from. And Peter had this quantified process of what about this specific universe? And I was like, why are they going into such details like this? And I was like, and then I watched the movie, I was like, oh man, they just trying to throw us, But then at the end of the movie, they had, your boy J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. I was like, why are they doing this? They have been pushing this, that this is what their end goal was. We all thought it was just Sinister Six. We all thought they were trying to expand this, but no, they have been working towards something big. And they just saw from the Spiderverse what they could potentially really do. And so for me, I'm really excited. All this news is dope. But please, anybody that's watching this, know that this movie is just the springboard. This is not, you're not going to have all these spider moments with all these different spiders. If say hypothetically speaking, Miles Morales, you're thinking, yo, Miles is going to show up in this. No. If he does, it'll be his voice, or it'll be a small moment at the very end of the movie. This is not the Spider-Verse movie. All this is pushing the narrative. This is complementing and does benefit Marvel with their multiverse and what they're trying to do with the Doctor Strange movie. It's just crazy symmetry to me, the fact that Sam Raimi is directing the Doctor Strange movie. And I'm like, how much connection is it that all these different people are starting to come back? I'm just really excited more than anything. I think the only person that isn't confirmed is Toby, right?
Nope. No, I think he got confirmed today.
Hey,
Sam, don't be surprised if Shamik Moore is just all of a sudden chilling in one of these cameos.
Not him.
No,
Not
look,
him.
I'm expecting his
better-
cartoon.
You
I
better
would
name
be
another
surprised if it's
actor.
the animated
It won't
version.
be- It
Yo,
won't be
I
him.
wouldn't be surprised if it's the animated version, to be honest.
No, I would take Jaden Smith before I take Shamik, to be quite honest with you. Like from the look and from the age, like I would take Jaden over Shamik any day. It's just the problem is I don't know if Jaden can act.
He just had a movie. You do know he can't act, and I love Jaden.
He did. He could, but anyway, I'm not gonna go there. That's not.
Dad can't act. He can fake it till he make it. Come on, now he's a Smith. But let me close this topic by saying this. For years I've been saying that this would happen. It wasn't new. It wasn't news necessarily. I think the coming together and what I had to realize is how much it benefited Marvel to want this move to happen. I don't think Sam and Raimi had much to do with it because, as we remember, he was put in there because Mr. Dickerson dropped out of it. So I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think this was just all a setup by Sony. Sony has been playing a long game here. They kind of announced all these series, and people were wondering, how are we going to get to these series? How are we going to do X, Y, and Z? It makes no sense. And then how's Spider-Man going to come into play? But a couple years ago, when the Kraven movie was announced, and Sony announced who the director was and who the writers was of the Kraven movie, and the Kraven director was asked, is Spider-Man going to be in your movie? And he said, 100% yes, he's in my movie. I was hired to put him in my movie. No one paid attention to it. People thought he was just making up stuff. And I said then that Sony's game was simple here. We need to get it respectable again with Spider-Man. And if we can use Marvel to do so, we'll do it. I always said Marvel's only benefit was a chance to have Spider-Man in some of their movies. But in the end, the bigger payoff was always going to be for Sony because they get to use the MCU brand to make Spider-Man bigger. And that's all that happened here. In the end, when these two divorce, and it will happen, it's going to be beneficial for both sides because this movie is beneficial for both sides. This movie introduces and will introduce a lot of heroes to Marvel's universe, and it will help completely separate Spider-Man or come close with one more appearance left to separating Spider-Man from the MCU. And that's what both sides want this. And again, it benefits everyone involved. And shout out to Morbius, even though Chris said no one was hyped about that trailer. I beg to differ, sir. Lots of people, especially that end scene with Vulture as he walks.
No, I'm talking about the latest one. I ain't talking about the very first one. They just put it out like yesterday. I didn't hear not a peep.
But no one.
What you said it was international.
But still, though, it was new scenes in that, and I didn't hear nobody say shit. That's why I was like,
because it has no release date. Like most people aren't going to pay no attention right now.
No, but any other time, if it's any other movie, they would. That's what kind of threw me off. I was like, I thought
a Wonder Woman trailer dropped, and no one talked about it yesterday. Not a
blame
single
CXP for that one, but whatever. That's a different story.
One thing I wanted to,
because it is an international trailer. I don't think American audiences really react well to international trailers if we already have a trailer.
Oh, okay.
So one thing I wanted to ask you guys just before we transition to the next thing, because the next thing is going to be craziness. Najer brought it up, and I've heard you talk about it before, Lucas. If any of you guys have seen the animated feature, one of the things that I loved about the last season was when they went from Secret Wars and then it built into this Spiderverse. The first kind of inclination that we got of it that was connected to Madam Web that ended on like this Peter Parker that was assimilated to the Carnage symbiote. And it was just the worlds were starting to break apart. Do you think that we could ever get anything like that? Like Madam Web pivoted, but then going just full tilt comics and everything.
Sam, is that the 90s animated 90s animation? Yeah. Oh, I love that. I actually love that series.
Peter was ended up being the main villain of it.
Yeah.
Peter.
One of the Peters ended up being the main villain of it, and I love that.
It became Man Spider.
Yeah, we had Man Spider. I think we had just an actor at one point in one of the roles. Like one of the Spider-Man was an actor. He had no powers. The other one was Tony Stark-esque. Was rich. That would be interesting to see, but I don't know how they would. That was huge. That was huge. I don't know how they can do it. It was all different Peter Parkers. Yeah,
it's always amazing to have faith in Lord and Miller. and what they picture the Spider-Man universe looking like, especially with Sony really kind of moving forward with them having a lot of say-so over their Spider-Man universe.
Well, we'll see. That's interesting then.
So this was a very interesting topic that lasted a long time, like I kind of knew it would. So I'm gonna go to a short topic, and then we're gonna go to the last big topic. So today it was announced that YouTube will start doing HDR streaming.
About time.
Finally. Live stream.
Fucking
So, gentlemen, everyone here streams on YouTube in one way or another. Chris shaking his head like, I'm not fucking with YouTube. But most people here stream on YouTube or are part of streams on YouTube. So, gentlemen, very quick answers here. Could this or will this be a game changer? We'll start off with you first, Chris.
I mean, if they changed like my issues with YouTube is something different from this. So that's the reason why I don't really fuck with YouTube on the streaming level, just cause. So that's excuse the middle finger. It's just I just grow tired of YouTube for different reasons. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, it definitely is going to end up making Twitch kind of perk up a little bit in terms of how. Well, I mean, can you actually stream HDR in Twitch? I'm trying to think. I think you can. I think you can. I think you can. I don't think. No. You can't. You can't.
I don't think you can yet.
Yeah. So this definitely is going to probably have Twitch, because I mean Twitch is technically YouTube's only competitor right now in terms of like streaming and stuff right now.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook to a degree too. It helps out YouTube and stuff. So now it just kind of puts everybody else on a timetable of, hey, when are you guys going to implement this? So for right now, it's a beneficial for YouTube for right now. So until everybody else can jump on this.
Najir, you sir, what are your thoughts about this?
I saw when you wanted to do this topic, and I was a little bit confused. Yeah, what has changed? Because my computer technically can stream HDR from YouTube.
But
now.
YouTube can't handle HDR. That's
YouTube,
the thing.
Yeah, never could.
YouTube is
now
finally be able to actually handle HDR.
It can never handle it before. Now it can handle it. It's kind of like how 1080p wasn't a thing on YouTube, even though people were able to
record
film on 1080p. But like YouTube, but like when you uploaded it, you couldn't do 1080p.
It'll drop down to about 720.
Yeah, it'll drop down to 720.
So this is a bigger deal than them having 8K right now?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. So the biggest thing is like you can technically upload a video. Like say if you have like a short film, you're trying to upload in HDR 4K, or if you're trying to do 8K, you could upload that and view it. Eventually, it's gonna process and transition just fine. The difference is now you can literally stream whatever and it goes straight in HDR 4K. Because before it's like we were streaming right now on YouTube right now, and we put it to the highest, like 4K HDR. We all had it sharpened. It would only go first at 1080, and then it would only maneuver forward at 4K.
Gotcha.
But it would never give HDR processing, which sucked.
Gotcha.
No matter what your equipment was.
Oh, I mean, then for the sake of the topic, then I mean, I guess this is cool. I don't see it like being monumental or anything. I mean, this is not going to change gamers from positioning to streaming on here. Gamers is the big audience when you're talking about streaming. So, Twitch is so lucrative. It got Mixer right up out of there. Made Microsoft tuck their tail between their legs, and then Facebook was like, "Well, we'll try our hand." And I mean, hasn't been really much of a big splash from there. So Twitch is still going to be the home for the premier streaming of video games and just chat people and stuff like that. So, but yeah, like Eris is saying in there, where'd it go? Yeah, right there. That's exactly it. So cool. Good for them, YouTube.
All right, Mo, what are your thoughts on this?
Finally, you can actually maximize your equipment. So it's like Sam said, you have the equipment to stream in HDR, but you couldn't. Like, YouTube is finally catching up as one of the biggest or one of the premier streaming platforms, or one of the premier platforms for gamers. they should have been up with the times. They should have been up, letting people with the equipment show their, especially if you built your rig, if you built your own gaming computer and it's the best thing you could put out there, and you're streaming and it's not the best quality, it kind of hurts your feelings a little bit. So it's finally, everyone with that technology and everyone that wants to watch in that, in that regard can now finally go. I like Najer says, Twitch is very lucrative, right? But the fact that I can stream in HDR, I could take myself back to YouTube, and so my fans can see the best quality stream out there. I think it's a big move. It sets them apart from everyone else, like in a little bit, because everyone is going to start trying to catch up. But it does, give them an edge. I feel like they had the edge, but it gives them more of an edge.
So Sam, I'm gonna ask this question this last way. Do you believe that this move will just push everyone else forward? Maybe not bring more gamers to YouTube, but maybe push all the rest of the services forward?
I think it's going to, but I think that technology right now is at a really interesting transition phase. And I'm not just talking about like HDR or 5G or like the newer beefed up graphics cards or newer systems. Technology is literally just taking a full transitional change. Like a lot of people are like thinking about 8K. So I think that progressionally this is going to happen on the transition side anyway. I think that it's just interesting timing on YouTube side that now all these next gen consoles are out. All these big graphics cards are out that they're like, oh, shoot. Yo, this is the time. So they could have easily done this a long time ago, but it is a benefit for anybody that's like got a next gen console or got one of these graphics cards. Like, okay, cool. When I stream, they're going to see the maximum amount for these. But the problem is, and I know Chris feels the same exact way, is it worth it doing it on YouTube? If every single time you stream, you're going to get copyrighted.
I knew he was going to say that.
Can we just celebrate the HDR?
A little like scene in a game that you can't control shows like a news scene or utters a slur or says a word, and the video just gets taken down, and you lose the rights to even use your channel. What's the point? Personally, I've gotten to the point now. YouTube is like, shut us down a couple times. I've thought more to do a lot of my content either on a website or on Twitch. It's just a lot more easier, a lot more efficient. Yes, Twitch doesn't have HDR, but bruh, once they do, what?
And I'll just add really quickly that YouTube and Google isn't creator friendly.
No,
their decision is their decision. Twitch has worked with all their major streamers because a lot of them were dealing with their previous streams with music being in the background and channels being in jeopardy, but they work with them to get that all situated. YouTube is just like, yeah, we don't even care if this is right or wrong, and I don't know how you're ever going to contact us, so don't even worry about trying to contact us.
Dude, I did a live stream. I did a lot to actually, that goes to Najee's theory before we move on. I did a live stream of Ultraman on Twitch. I could never get away with that on YouTube because it would have got shut down immediately. But Twitch, they're like, all right, clearly these guys are doing commentating. We get it. We're going to let you keep it up. YouTube shut down immediately. So it's
what
like,
wasn't it Twitch? Lucas, we talked about this. So it was Major. I can't remember. Twitch has this deal with Amazon Prime, I believe.
Yeah.
That you can literally react to whatever show you want to, and just like have it with views and have people come in and join your stream. Like, honestly,
as long as you're not streaming the show and you're not on it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Look, and Twitch has that deal with the NFL where you can watch the NFL game and
Thursday night
games.
You put 5 seconds of the NFL and your channel's gone.
And Twitch has a deal with Universal Music, which is the biggest music, or I think it's Warner Brothers Music. I'm sorry, which is the biggest music company in the world that you
can
segue
there, Lucas.
Play their song. I know. Hey man, look here, the boy talented. I'm telling you, that boy good. I'm telling you here. But they have a deal with Warner Brothers Music that all their music can actually be played on Twitch and not be copied. Not have the copyright protection thing come and force them to take down anything.
Yeah.
But speaking of Warner Brothers and things being taken down. This week, AT&T has come under fire from everyone humanly possible in Hollywood with their big decision to drop their entire 2021 movie slate on HBO Max. Now, gentlemen, we have had this conversation countless times over the last week or so on what this means. And then today we get all the creators involved in these projects basically come out and trash HBO Max, and AT&T for making this move. So, gentlemen,
doesn't deserve this.
So, gentlemen, I'll ask you a very simple question. What do you think will be the backlash that AT&T and HBO will have from making this decision? And I'm gonna start first with you, Najir.
I think it's hard to not already say things that haven't already been said, but I think if anything, outside of the comments that's being said now, I think he kind of also revert back to some of the comments that was made earlier with the movie theater businesses. No one's going to be happy here, and this turns from publicly speaking out of anger to spite soon. So the backlash will be that after 2021. I don't see them saying, "Oh yeah, come back 2022." I think there will be some interesting developments come to the later part of the year where this move that HBO is doing, Warner Media, ultimately is just going to it's going to stifle a lot of things, because the movie theater business is one that we all hold dear, and you like to think after the pandemic that there's going to be light of the tunnel for everybody. The theater companies, they need movies in order to show. If you're taking some of the arguably biggest movies, especially considering some of the format that some of these movies are in and how that pertains to sales, and you're taking all that away, you know, they're going to remember this. 1 year from now, they're going to remember how this was handled and how this has affected them. And, you know, if the economy never gets back, or if the government never helps some of these businesses, this ultimately can be the demise of these movie theater companies for good. And if somehow, some way, they pull an H.H. Gregg out of Circuit City and they come back, they're going to remember this. And so, again, I think right now we're getting legitimate anger being towards this decision. And then I think the next step is going to be spite of some sort. And we're going to see them position a way that's not going to make this once upon a time marriage ever be rekindled.
All right, Chris, now I'm going to piggyback off of Najir with spite. And I'm going to ask a nice sub question here. How much spite will the production companies and the actors and directors have towards Warner Media and AT&T after this decision?
There's going to be a lot of spite. Like the trust is broken at this point. And, you know, you saw James Gunn feel some sort of way and you sense some spite out of him. Nolan is a different beast altogether because of the whole thing with Tenet. Granted, that was more so him pushing Warner Brothers to kind of put Tenet in theaters, so that's on him on that. But then he also on the back end was like, hey, you just broke the trust between people. Because at the end of the day, this isn't, I can pretty much wholeheartedly say all five of us, it's not like we're like backing these corporations, but it's just simple truth. Even if you go down to basic thing, give people a heads up on what you're doing before you do it. It's just simple common courtesy here. Like I think Nolan said it best. 1 minute you're working under one person, and then boom, you wake up and then you're working under somebody else, and it's like under lower wages, and now you're just like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, am I still going to get paid? That's really the core of it and stuff. Now, these people got paid up front for doing those movies, so that's one thing. But if you had a deal in place with theaters, and then now you're telling them, oh, by the way, we're streaming it, and we're going to put it in theaters.
Let me throw you a quick curveball, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these people got paid up front. Others have taken back-end deals based on what the movies would make.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can finish. I'll give you another little tidbit of information. Because of what happened with Wonder Woman 84, AT&T and Warner Brothers went back and paid Gal and Patty and some other actors in this movie tens of millions of dollars to guarantee they would come back for a part 3, because if they did not get paid, they were not coming back for a part 3.
Yeah, and I think that's where the spite is, because it's just a simple case of, hey, look, if you're gonna do this, give us a heads up so we can go back to the negotiation table so we know what this means. And that's where the spite's gonna come in at, because it's like, well, fuck you. Wash and just pass these people, because beyond this, if a new up and coming director is going to work for Warner's, they're going to be very cautious about working with them now, because who's to say they're going to fuck them over?
Welcome to Chris Nolan's comments.
And now you've bred this thing of content. And don't get it twisted. Corporations do screw people over in ways, so I'm not going to put this all on Warner Brothers, but Warner Brothers really just up front fucked everybody over. And now it's like, do I want to work with you now? And now I'm like, yo, so what does that mean for the crew of of Black Adam now? What's going to happen? And granted, I know this is just for this year. They're only doing it for 2021. But now, again, you create this spiteful thing. What does that mean for 2022, 23, 24, and keep going? What does that mean now? Especially since this is a new thing now. Like, is this going to be the new normal after this?
Especially when your star Black Adam also is producing Black Adam, and he is watching the other production company in Legendary that he works with a lot. Being screwed over by you. What do you think his ideas all of a sudden become about taking any back-end deal, or does he rape them up front for his money and say, I don't care what Black Adam makes?
And I'll say this much. It was very telling with Legendary when Warner Brothers blocked them from being able to peddle their movie that you knew something was up. When I heard about that, I was like, something's up. Like, you don't just block a deal like that unless you're really trying to do something.
$250 million.
Exactly. So, and now they're going to court now, rightfully so. Because it's like, unless you're going to come back to the table and pay us money, we're going to take you to court.
So, Mo, what do you think about Warner Brothers, AT&T / and the backlash that they have been receiving, and how will it affect them moving forward, knowing that now you screwed over content creators and you have a streaming service that needs to have content creators?
Well, I feel bad for HBO because they're the least deserving party of this. And I'm saying I feel bad for HBO because the streaming service is called HBO MAX, which was when it was dropped that was going to be the name of the streaming service. I was like, how? Why? Because this is a Warner thing, right? But ultimately, they deserve everything they're getting from all the creators, from all the creatives, from Nolan. His trepidation is not about Tenet. Again, it's about moving forward and, the lasting effects on future content and future content creators. Now, all of that aside, right? Moving the next year is going to be something to watch, or the end of the year towards the next year is going to be something to watch, because they've announced it, right? They said this is what they're going to do. Now, at some point next year, do they say, shit, we fucked up? Let's, like, okay, we're sorry. Like, because my whole thing as a consumer is like, oh shit, I got HBO Max. I'm not mad at this, right? From my end, I'm not necessarily mad at it because what if you're not ready to go back to the movies immediately? And so, for a way to watch these movies, you have your way at home to do it on the biggest screen you can find with your friends, family, you have that. But at some point, if Warner says, hey, look, man, this was an accident. It was a trial thing. We're done for like in March or April or May. They're just done. And then moving forward, everything is going back 100% in theaters. What do you do with your consumer or the people who decided, hey, you know what? HBO Max might be the way to go for streaming because of, what Warner's is doing. And then what do you do with those people? Or it's a lot of moving.
Right, let me say this. I'll throw a quick curveball at you for a quick answer, then I'll push to Sam. What happened if I was to tell you that AT&T does not care about the movie business at all? Their only goal is to push HBO Max. They could care.
Well, they're trying to make streaming the big thing. They're trying to make streaming the future.
If they could ever release another thing in theaters, if they can make this streaming service successful.
But hasn't AT&T been trying to make streaming at one point successful? Because they did have Uverse, and they had their Uverse streaming on that side of it. Yeah, they've been trying they've been trying for so long. And HBO Max seems to, or the Warner marriage seemed to be the most profitable, the best way to do it, because Warner gives you this much content, and you can decide, okay, let's do. But if that's all they care about, then again, 100%, it is fucked up because, as I think Chris said or Najar said, you didn't give your creatives a heads up that, hey, this is really what we want to do. Make all these movies that you've made for Warner Brothers, but by the time we come in here, we want only streaming. So all these movies are going to streaming, and that, or you just pay them, which is going to be a shit ton of money for a failing.
It's already the
streaming
slate
service.
Technically, the slate is already going to cost them $2.8 billion
Exactly.
without pushing any money forward to people and paying them properly. So that's going to be a heck of a hit. So Sam,
on a failing streaming service, that's
exactly.
just a very,
as Chris Nolan said,
decision.
the world's worst streaming service. So Sam,
Or
what
it's
are
just
your thoughts on this, sir?
propaganda to prop up HBO Max. Who knows, man? Sorry, my bad, Sam.
No, you're good, man. You're good. This is a mess. I thought Universal situation with AMC with Trolls was bad. Warner Brothers said, "Hold my beer, dog." Like Eris always be saying. Like, nah, seriously, it is. When the announcement came up, Lucas said to me, he's like, "That don't seem right. I don't know how they're gonna do that." And I was like, I started thinking to myself, low key, I was like, I mean, as a consumer, I was happy, but realistically, I was like,
amazing news as a consumer.
I was like thinking about it. I was like, man, that turnaround was real quick. So, I mean, what it is that you guys hit the nail on the head. They bit the hand that was been serving them for years. But the problem was, I don't necessarily think it was the Warner Brothers people that wanted this. Mm-hmm. This is what AT&T wanted. AT&T is the driving force for everything that's been coming up from HBO Max. The decisions in certain shows that is on HBO or HBO Max, the decision on where this transition is going, moving forward with them trying to revolutionize what the viewing experience is. It's very exciting as a consumer. I get it. But they forfeited every single director, actor, producer, and anybody connected with trying to make this move so quickly without dotting all the I's and all the T's. Because by them doing this, they're basically saying, yeah, you know what? We're going to give what the fans want. It's kind of like if you're working customer service at like a major retailer or whatever, and like you've been working there for years, and all of a sudden somebody comes in and is like, yo, I got this new innovative way. We're going to do this. But look, all this customer service stuff, I just need you to drive numbers. I need you to do this. Mm-hmm. And I need you to no longer have any more vacation days. I don't care what you've had planned out. I don't know if you have, maternal leave. You don't get it anymore. We're doing this. And by doing that, people are going to work for you, but either they're going to quit or you got to pay them up, because it's like, that's where they felt like they could do this. And the problem is they are going to do, I think the slate that they made, it's going to happen. At this point, it doesn't matter. Like they're going to have to do it because it's way too many eyes on it. Now, they're going to lose a buttload of money on it. And us as consumers, we're going to have a great 2021.
Oh, come on.
But after 2021, I don't know what they're going to do. And I don't know what this affects other movies that have been pushed back to 2022. Like the Batman.
Real talk. They should have took a page from Disney and just charged for these movies on premium pay-per-view for a month and switched over. Yeah. And here's the thing: people can bullshit all they want to, pardon language, but they'll pay.
How they pay for more?
How does it help them that you just lost your biggest original content creator? Because at this point, Nolan is clearly going to be going to the highest bidder.
He going to Netflix.
No, he will not go to Netflix because Netflix does not do these things in theaters.
Mm-hmm. Amazon Prime?
No, I don't think he's going to a streaming service. Yeah,
Disney, we have the perfect content creator to give you original content.
Let me ask a quick question.
Let
me ask a quick question. Let me
Tyler Perry.
Play contrarian for a second.
Hey, if Tyler Perry could afford Christopher Nolan, and we got a Christopher Nolan Tyler Perry collaboration.
Hey, listen. First off, that will be a game changer for Tyler Perry Studios. You get Christopher. Look, Tyler Perry, real talk. I think he got enough fuck you money to get Christopher Nolan. Personally, that's just me. I think he does.
I don't know about that one, buddy.
I think he put it this way.
Maybe for a short film.
Yeah, for a short film. Possible short film. Maybe get him to direct an episode of the Have and Have Nots. Maybe just one episode.
It would be the most confusing episode.
But it is one of those things where you have to like really look at the fact that like I said, you burn bridges, and now it's like, hey, where is it going to go? And like you said, Disney. But I still think they could have went the premium route with these movies if they really want to get something.
Let me play contrarian for a quick second. It's probably not gonna work, but I mean, there's this saying: you don't make the perfect omelet without breaking a few eggs. Maybe this is AT&T. Listen. What if in the future this turns out to be the smartest decision ever? I mean,
on paper, I'll
put it like this, and this is how you'll tell just how smart of a move this was. Currently, HBO Max is available to 38 million people for free.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, out the 38 million people, only 12 million people have activated their HBO
Well,
Max.
Lucas, they stopped the free trial now, so
No. These are people who are actually already paying for HBO that have free access to HBO Max, meaning all they have to do is activate the membership, and those people aren't activating the membership. So for this to be successful for HBO Max and AT&T, not only would you have to get the other 26 million people to activate those subscriptions, you need to get another 20 million on top of that of new customers to come in.
Aren't you rolling out in the UK next year or this year or sometime soon?
It's next year.
UK has HBO Now already available. So when they launch it, those aren't new customers. All you're doing is bringing people who already have HBO in. It is literally the biggest issue they had with
also here's the confusing
HBO Max.
And that's so I feel bad for HBO.
But here's another confusing part though. Why are you taking off your WB movies off of HBO Max? That's another confusing thing that's kind of throwing people off.
Licensing deals they have with other studios.
That's the thing that's wild. It's like you couldn't pull at least Disney Plus was like giving people like, hey, look, we're waiting for our license deal to be over with Amazon Prime, or in the case of Mighty Ducks, they were waiting for HBO Max. They were waiting for HBO license to lapse before it goes to Disney Plus.
For some of those movies that Disney Plus just got, they'll be leaving soon because Disney still has marketing deals with people. And
I figured that, but I mean, at least they were smart enough to give people a heads up. That's I will at least give Disney that much.
HBO will never give you a heads up on anything. And that is the issue.
Quit saying HBO, man. Quit saying HBO.
It's all one. And
it is.
Because HBO is the brand that now gets drugged through the mud through all of this.
Hey, game is the game, dog.
HBO is the brand that's owned by AT&T.
I was about to say they own it.
Here. The biggest issue here is not giving people heads up. I was always more concerned when this story first broke of how would this affect the actors and the production teams, or to a lesser extent, people behind the scenes who actually still get money based off of residuals and back deals. And how would they be affected by you dropping these on streaming services that will make you no money? So moving forward with HBO, you've destroyed the relationship with Christopher Nolan. You technically have soured the relationship with James Gunn while you think he's still going to make your series for you. You've ruined a relationship with Lin-Manuel. I'm not saying the guy's name right.
Lin-Manuel,
the Hamilton dude, Hamilton guy,
or In the Heights. But you also ruined it with the guy who directed In the Heights, John Cho, who's actually the guy who brought you Crazy Rich Asians, and you're still hoping that he brings you Crazy Rich Asians 2. Like you literally destroyed multiple relationships, and other studios, like someone brought up earlier today, Universal, they are loving this. This is the best thing in the world to them because they went ahead of the curve to lower windows and did everything, but they worked not only with moviegoers, with movie theater owners, they also work with the talent behind the scene.
Mode.
and they screwed over people with trolls. You know what Universal did? They went back and paid all of those people.
Lucas, because that's what you're supposed to do when you're a competent business. You got to think before you
Disney
do.
Making all the deals that they've made with all of these movies dropping on the streaming service, and in a couple of days they will announce more movies dropping on their streaming service. Any movie that's dropping on Disney streaming service, they've already had contact with the actors, their reps, the directors, and saying, "Hey, we will pay you X amount of money," just like this movie was released.
When you mentioned the whole thing with Artemis Fowl, and then this came up, and then you mentioned, those people on Artemis Fowl got their money. They got paid. Like, and
no one should have got paid for Artemis Fowl. No one.
but still, just
should have got paid for Artemis.
But still, from a business side, it made sense for them to do it because maybe those people thought it was going to go into theaters. The same with Soul. I'm pretty sure the people that did Soul are like, okay, here's some money. We're putting it on Disney Plus.
Another movie that they didn't need to really pay for.
But still, it's like, because like I said, they put like Lady and the Tramp on Disney Plus, and I don't even think that movie was ever going to go to theaters anyway. As far as
it was released. Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I mean, I think my biggest thing is I asked you guys unanimously. Could y'all believe? I think for me, I guess we're in a world where people just say whatever they want to say. But when you're still technically working in line with certain corporations, you don't just verbalize the kind of verbiage that James Gunn and Christopher Nolan and other people, like, they're just saying stuff, and I'm like,
they're legit pissed. It's not even like it's candid. Like, they're legit pissed.
I'm really surprised that they're just verbalized. I mean, granted, Christopher Nolan can say whatever he wants to say. His
project with Warner Brothers is out. It's already done. At this point, he can speak his mind about anything.
He can say anything. But other people, I'm just surprised that they're verbalizing stuff, and then stuff is coming out, because that whole Toby Emmerich joint, man, that was terrible timing. I don't know if you want to bring that up, Lucas, what happened, so they can kind of...
That'll be
okay.
I heard about it. It's like, ooh, that's
all right.
No, but Sam is right though. It's the simple fact that, like I said earlier and stuff, it killed all like confidence in this company now. Now, I'm not saying they're dead in the water, I saw somebody.
Consumers can change everything.
Yeah, and the thing is,
magically HBO Max within the next year adds all those activations and 20 million or 10 to 15 million on top of those activations, then it was a success for them for 1 year. The issue is short-term success versus long-term success. If you have shot your nose off to spite your face, it in the end, it's not going to help you.
And and the thing of it is, I get that. Hey, and the thing of it is, I think this is something else a lot of people are forgetting. They're acting like these directors and people complaining are trying to push, the general audience in theaters. And I'm like, no, they understand COVID. I think that's something that people are missing. It's like these directors understand that there's a COVID and some people don't go to theaters. But again, it's just a basic fundamental. Hey, could you just brought us to the table before you did this? That's it.
Give the movie 30 days in theaters and then pull it.
Thank you. Yeah. If you want to roll the dice and go to theaters, cool. If you don't, fine. Wait the month.
I personally don't think Nolan cared. I'm gonna say that on record.
Oh, Nolan didn't give a fuck. He was just like, you know what?
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna say it because nobody else is, and I'm Christopher Nolan, and who's gonna check me? Nobody.
But
thank you, gentlemen. This has been another extra long episode of the Rundown with Lou. Peace, people.